What's up, everyone? It's SyntaxSquid, and today we're going to talk about operators in Python. Before we get started, as you can see, I have this operators.py file created. Make sure you create that. Let's get to it. In Python, there are three main types of operators: mathematical operators, logical operators, and comparison operators. Let's start by talking about mathematical operators. Mathematical operators are used to take in values that evaluate to expressions. For example, 5 plus 5 is an expression. It takes in two values and an operator. Let's talk about the main mathematical operators. Type in the comments mathematical operators so we can separate these and organize our code. The plus operator, the minus operator, the multiplication operator, the division operator, the floor division operator, the exponential operator, and the modulus operator. The addition operator can be used to evaluate simple math equations like 5 plus 5. Let's run that and we get 10. And it can be used to concatenate strings. Now, what is string concatenation? String concatenation is when you take two strings and join them together. For example, 5 plus 5, wrapped in quotes, is going to be equal to 55 because there are two strings and we're just joining them together. The minus operator can be used to make negative numbers and subtract. So negative 5 minus 6 will be equal to negative 11. So more basic math. The multiplication operator, like all the operators, can do basic math, but it can also do something called string replication. If I do 5 times hello and run the code, we will get hello 5 times. Why does this work? Well, this is because of string replication. String replication is when you take a string and you have a number, and that string will be replicated the amount of times the number is there. So this hello string is being printed out 5 times. If we were to try to do something like this for concatenation and do an integer plus a string, we would get an error because they're unsupported operand types. Now let's talk about the division operator, which is just basic math. Let's do 6 divided by 5. We get 1.2. Now we'll do the floor division operator. And what this operator does is it takes two numbers and just divides them regularly. So remember how 6 divided by 5 was 1.2? Let's see if 6 floor 5 is the same. It's 1. Now why is this? This is because floor division takes the number, divides it, and then rounds it down or floors it. Next, let's talk about exponent, which is again just basic math. 6 to the power of 2, double stars. The modulus operator is used for remainders. If we do 6 mod 5, then we get 1 because that is the remainder of 1.2. Now that we know about the mathematical operators, let's talk about comparison operators. Comparison operators always return Boolean values and you compare values with them. The main comparison operators are greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and double equal sign. Let's talk about the greater than sign first. How it works is, let's do print 5 greater than 7. So we all know that this is definitely a false statement. If we run this, it'll return false because 5 is not greater than 7. Now if we were to print 5 less than 7, this would return true because this is a true statement. How the greater than and less than or equal to signs work, it's almost like the OR operator, which we will talk about in a minute. If it meets one of the criteria of being greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, then it will return true no matter what. Let's do it like this. 5 is greater than or equal to 5. So we know it's not greater than, but it is equal to. So this should return true because it meets at least one of the criteria. Same thing for less than or equal to. This may not be equal to 7, but it is less than. That is why it returns true. The double equal sign is used when comparing. Remember never to use the double equal sign when you are assigning variables. That is meant for the single equal sign. So let's print 5 equals 5. And we'll return true because 5 is indeed equal to 5. Next, let's talk about logical operators. The three logical operators are and, or, and not. How the and operator works, it only returns true if both of the criteria are met. So let's do print 5 greater than 8 and 5 less than 8. Now, even though 5 is less than 8, because 5 is not greater than 8, it's going to return as a false statement. Now, how OR works is, like I said earlier, these greater than and less than equal to signs can actually be manually created with an OR statement. So how it works is, it only needs to be met one of the criteria to return true. So let's recreate the greater than or equal to block. If 6 is greater than 4 or equal or 6 equals 4, then it's going to return true. This will return true because even though it didn't meet the second criteria, it met the first one. The not operator can be used for booleans. Not true. This will return the opposite of the boolean, so this will return false. Now that we know all of these operators, let's create a practice program that checks if we are old enough to drive. First, let's set an age variable and set it to 14 for now. Eventually, when we learn about inputs and variables more, we will be able to make this program again. We'll do age equals 14 and then is visually disabled equals false, because you can't drive if you can't see. Now, let's make another variable called is old enough to drive. And how it's going to work is we're going to make it equal to age is greater or equal to 16 and is visually disabled equals false. So now let's print this out. Print is old enough to drive. Let's run it. And as you can see, I've gotten the single equal sign confused with the double equal sign. So let's make sure I change that. And we get false. This is because even though we are not visually disabled, we are still not old enough. We're using an and operator because if you only had to meet one of the criteria, that can make driving pretty crazy. Let's try setting this value to 16. And we get true because we meet both of the criteria. And obviously, if we set this value to true, then, well, it would be false because if you can't see, you can't drive. Thank you for joining me in this video today about operators in Python. I'm going to do a quick recap. We learned about mathematical operators and how to concatenate strings, floor division, and replicating strings. We learned about comparison operators and logical operators and how they always return Boolean values. In the end, we created a simple is old enough to drive program that we will be rebuilding in the future to check if if a person is old enough to drive and can see. Thank you for joining me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, Squid Squad.